Let's have a look. This is a slideshow I've put together just of some of the key elements that we've gone through this term. So just to be careful, don't assume this is the only thing you need to know. I suspect if you know this stuff at a reasonable level, you're looking at maybe like a C-level sort of grade. You've got to go beyond this to do well. Let's start with the roles of business and society. And you notice I've got some page references up here as well, right? So if you want to go to the textbook, this is page 2. So the roles of business, the things that business do for us. Production, they produce goods and services. Employment, they provide jobs for people. Career, they provide the opportunity for training and promotion. Enterprise, they provide new products and ideas. And investment, they allow people to invest in business. Now, I wouldn't be typing this down. I'd just be watching this, have a look at it later, and I'll put these notes on sector because we're going to go through these pretty quickly. The functions, the 4 functions within a business. So this is saying that businesses are complex, so we tend to break them up into 4 different areas. So one of those is marketing, one of those is operations, one of those is human resources, and the other is finance. So they're the 4 areas we tend to break business up into. When we talk about production, an important idea is economies of scale. And that means the bigger the business is, there are some things that they can buy cheaper. For example, McDonald's can purchase just about anything they need at lower cost than a small corner store. So some of the different things you might buy more cheaply include like the ingredients, transporting ingredients to the store, advertising, even research and development. Now, we've just been looking at this. When you decide you're going to open a business, it's important to think about how you are going to own that business. And we've talked about 3 different opportunities: as a sole trader, as a partnership, or as a company. And you have to be familiar with some of the advantages and disadvantages of each. So sole trader, just as an example, advantage there is they can make whatever decisions they want. They're the only person who owns the business. A disadvantage is that it can be hard to take time off for holidays or if you're sick. A partnership can be very cheap to set up, right? And another advantage is that you've got different partners, so you've got different skills, but the disadvantage is there's no limited liability and you may be called on to pay more than your share of debts. The last one, companies, right? Sometimes we talk about as a private company. We talked about the advantages of a limited liability. The disadvantage there, they can be expensive to set up and profits have to be divided. A key element when you're thinking about these ownership structures is that of limited liability. So it means that you've got an ownership structure that says any debts that come about, for example, if someone sues you, they are limited to the assets of the company. If you don't have limited liability, unlimited liability, that means someone can look to recover their debts from your personal assets as well, right? So from your house or money you might have in the bank or other things that you own. A company is a structure that offers limited liability. Stakeholders are an important concept. We know around the businesses the idea of shareholders, right? So shareholders are owners of businesses. Stakeholders is anyone who has an interest in a business. Some examples of people who might have an interest in a business include managers, employees, customers, the government. For example, they're interested in what tax revenue a business might get. And so you can use stakeholder analysis to analyse the business and think about what are the important people in making a decision, who's impacted by a decision. Another socially responsible element of business management is triple bottom line reporting. And that goes beyond just saying profit's the important thing. It goes and says, okay, other important things include, first of all, the financial results, so like profit and sales. But secondly, are there some social good that the business is doing? And thirdly, is there an environmental impact? So for example, can we reduce pollution, something like that. So it's saying that businesses, things are more important than just the profit side of things. And this leads into this idea of social responsibility for businesses. That there are issues beyond just profit, and the business has to be aware of the social environment that they fit into. Now we come to this idea of business goals, and this is about how businesses set about setting and communicating what they want to achieve over time. So this is page 13 of the textbook. The first thing they might use is a mission statement. So it attempts to capture in simple terms what the business does and how the business works. Okay, so there's a good example there, Gloria Jean to be the most loved and respected coffee company in the world. It's clear what they want to do. The vision is talking about the future, right? So looking forward to 3 to 5 years, and the values are what's important to the organisation. There are examples there from Gloria Jean. Key performance indicators are also really important in business in setting goals. They look to provide measurable data to evaluate performance and improvement. So example, safety is an area where you might set a key performance indicator. It might be the number of accidents or the number of staff trained in first aid. And so you can actually measure that result. Key performance indicators should be known, so you should be able to know what they are. It should be measurable. So if you're going to say a key performance indicator is more satisfied clients, you're going to say, how are we going to measure that? So you might do a survey of clients. And it's got to be achievable. It's got to be realistic. And we've talked about safety, but it can also be financial performance. The environment might be another area where you set key performance indicators. Another way of measuring things is benchmarking. Right. So if we know, for example, if we're working at Hungry Jack's, we might be very interested in what McDonald's does. Right. How long do they take to make a burger, for example? An interesting story about benchmarking I heard was we went to a presentation down at Dreamworld, and they were telling us that what they do is they actually go around and they count the cars in the other car parks of the theme parks down there. So they get a rough idea how many cars are in their car park compared to the others, and they can compare how well they're doing on any one day. So benchmarking is a process where an organisation compares its own work with similar work in other organisations. Two things that organisations are looking to achieve, and this is a little tricky because the two names are pretty close: effectiveness and efficiency. So effectiveness is how well an organisation formulates and achieves objectives, getting the outcomes they want to. So for example, an measure of effectiveness might be that the Lakes College wants to have 450 secondary school students in 5 years' time. So effectiveness is how well do they achieve that. Efficiency is how much time and money goes into a project. Right? So do they do that in a really efficient way? Right? They don't spend a huge amount on money, they don't spend a huge amount on fancy facilities or anything like that, as opposed to an organisation that might spend a lot more. So efficiency is about the use of resources and achieving objectives. We talk about two different environments, right? The external environment, right, and the internal environment, those things that take place that are in control of the organisation. The big thing in internal environment is corporate culture. Corporate culture is a term used, as you guys know, to describe the shared values and beliefs of the people in an organisation. What people think is important in their organisation and how things work. So it might be there's a strong customer focus. It might be there's an ethical focus, a caring quality in the workplace, environmental awareness. Any of those things can be part of the corporate culture. You can see the corporate culture in action through a number of different things, right? The management style, the attitude of management to staff, attitude of staff to management, customer relations style address. There's a whole lot of things where you can actually observe the culture in action. But what becomes really important is how can you change the culture in an organisation? So some of the strategies. Management provide an example of the culture they want. So nothing better than management actually going and working in the organisation. Management recognising and rewarding appropriate action. So when they see someone, if they're focused, for example, on improving customer service, they see someone providing excellent customer service, they reward that. Recruiting and selecting employees who suit the desired culture. So if you focus on improving customer service, make that part of the recruitment. Ask questions of staff about how they've dealt with customer service in the past. Look for staff who've got training in customer service. Provide training in line with the desired culture. provide some customer service training, and communicate the desired culture. You may be asked to carry out a SWOT analysis. We'll do a lot of these through year 11 and 12 businesses. SWOT turns to strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What I want you guys to do is, whenever you're doing this analysis, you'll pick up some information from whatever you've read. But as well as that, have a think about these areas which you can look for. So in strengths and weaknesses, you might be talking about people. What skills, what experience, what attitudes do they have? The organisation, communication, what's the quality of communication there? The product or service, is it a high quality product service, or are there problems with it that need to be changed? The financial side of the business, and the knowledge. Do you have strengths or weaknesses in any of those as you put that together? And lastly, the external elements, the opportunities and threats. So do you have, what's your market like? Is it growing? Is it shrinking? Are you in a place like North Lakes, which is expanding rapidly? That's a good thing. That's an opportunity. What's happening with technology? Yeah, Lewis.
So wouldn't competition be more of a threat than weakness?
Well, it could. What I'm saying is any of these could be either an opportunity or a threat. Okay, so competition. So an example of competition being a opportunity might be, let's say you're JB Hi-Fi at the moment, and Dick Smith's just gone out of business. That's an opportunity to maybe take advantage, maybe even use some of their retail spaces or something like that. And a threat, of course, is if a new competitor comes in, then you've got to react to that. So it's a good point. The economic climate, how's that impacting on you? The laws, right? So you can always say, for example, that changes in tax laws might affect the business. Changes in laws around safety could certainly affect the business. Drones at the moment, right? It looks like people who have drones are going to have to get a license. That's going to affect people who are selling drones, making drones. And the environment is a big issue. So that's a key, that's a little bit of an overview of some key topics there.